Thank you all for being here today as we discuss the latest details pertaining to the events that transpired last July 11th. My name is Antonio Negrete. I'm a fire captain and the public information officer for the San Gabriel Fire Department. The purpose of today's press conference is to advise you, along with the San Gabriel community, that for the last 8 months, fire investigators from the Verdugo Fire Investigation Task Force and San Gabriel Police Department, along with investigators from the Los Angeles City Fire Department and both local and federal law enforcement agencies, diligently conducted a comprehensive investigation into the circumstances surrounding this incident. The Verdugo Fire Investigation Task Force is comprised of 12 fire agencies throughout the San Gabriel Valley, formed to effectively determine the origin and cause of fires and explosions throughout the Los Angeles region. Together, the task force operates as a cohesive unit with federal assistance from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, also known as ATF, aiding in case closure and criminal prosecution of arson suspects. It should be noted that throughout the investigation, investigators continued to work for their respective agencies, performing their normal shift duties, not only during the COVID-19 pandemic, but also during one of the worst fire seasons in California history. Our investigators have concluded that the Mission fire was intentionally set and as such deemed an arson fire. A suspect was later identified as John David Corey Jr., a 57-year-old male from the San Gabriel Valley area. A case has been filed with the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. First, to discuss the background surrounding this case and the operations that day, I'd like to introduce to you San Gabriel Fire Department Fire Chief Steve Wallace.
Thank you, Captain Negrete. My name is Stephen Wallace. I'm the Fire Chief for the City of San Gabriel Fire Department, and I'm going to refresh our memories a little bit this morning on what happened last July 11th and kind of give some background on how the incident unfolded. So on Saturday, July 11th, 2020, at about 4:24 in the morning, the Verdugo Fire Communications Center received notification of an automatic fire alarm at 428 South Mission Drive in the city of San Gabriel. San Gabriel Engine 52 was dispatched, and upon arrival and after a brief investigation, discovered smoke and fire showing from the rear of the old church. The Engine 52 captain immediately upgraded the call to a full first alarm assignment, bringing 2 additional fire engines, 2 ladder trucks, a rescue ambulance, and 2 division chiefs to the scene. Firefighters initiated an aggressive and well-coordinated interior attack, seeking out the seat of the fire while performing a primary search to locate any potential victims in the building. A second alarm, adding 3 additional engines, 1 truck company, a battalion chief, and an air utility rig, was requested at 4:43 a.m. Fire suppression operations continued in the interior, centered around the second floor choir loft at the rear of the church. The incident commander requested a third alarm at 4:49 a.m., bolstering resources with an additional 3 engines, a truck company, and 1 more battalion chief. The offensive firefight continued until portions of the roof began to collapse, forcing crews to exit the structure and assume a defensive posture just 20 minutes into the firefighting operations at 4:51 a.m. Within 45 minutes, crews were able to re-enter the church in an offensive mode and continue firefighting. The incident ultimately grew to 4 alarms, bringing a total of over 85 firefighters, 12 engine companies, 5 truck companies, 4 rescue ambulances, and 5 battalion chiefs to the scene. Due to the diligent efforts of our firefighters, the fire spread was stopped before it reached the altar area, sparing the attached Mission Museum and the adjacent rectory. Thankfully, there were no civilian injuries reported in this fire. However, one San Gabriel firefighter did receive a non-life-threatening injury early in the operations and has since fully recovered. Thanks to the very, very robust automatic gate agreements with the area, nearly 50% of the on-duty firefighting resources in the West San Gabriel Valley operated at this incident. Along with the entire San Gabriel Fire Department, units from the following agencies were vital in the successful mitigation of this incident. Those agencies were the Verdugo Fire Communications Center, the Alhambra, Arcadia, Pasadena, Monterey Park, San Marino, and South Pasadena Fire Departments. I'd also like to give thanks and big kudos to our partners at the San Gabriel Police Department, as well as San Gabriel Public Works, for lending their expertise and their boots on the ground that morning. While firefighting operations were still in progress, an investigation into the origin and cause of the fire was launched. From the first investigators on scene, the inquiry was carried out by the Verdugo Fire Investigation Task Force. Before I finish my remarks, I'd like to acknowledge Father John and the parish community, the citizens of our city, the mayor and city council, the city manager's office, and the entire San Gabriel team for patiently supporting us and the fire department during this investigation into this incident during a very, very challenging year. At this point, I'd like to return the mic to Captain Negrete. Thank you.
To outline some of the details surrounding the investigation, I'd like to introduce you to Captain Jason Sutliff of the San Marino Fire Department.
Good morning, my name is Jason Sutliff and I am a captain at the San Marino Fire Department and a member of the Verdugo Fire Investigation Task Force, which is comprised of 12 fire agencies throughout the San Gabriel Valley. I am also the lead investigator on the case. I'm going to briefly walk you through the investigative process and participants. I'll then tell you about the charges the District Attorney's Office has filed. In the early morning hours of July 11th, 2020, I was part of the firefight at the historic San Gabriel Mission that lasted well over 2 hours. I then transitioned into the investigation of the fire, which in the arson world means going back into the space where the fire had burned and digging through the char and debris to determine the origin, which is where the fire started, and the cause, which is how the fire started. Joining me in the search were fellow task force members from San Gabriel, Glendale, Monterey Park, Monrovia, and the ATF. Arson investigators from the Los Angeles City Fire Department who were assigned as ATF task force officers were called in along with their arson canine to work with us to determine the origin and cause of the fire. As a team, we collectively determined the fire to be arson. The investigation that took place over the next few months was thorough and comprehensive. The FBI, ATF, and other law enforcement agencies were consulted during the investigation, and task force members from San Marino, Arcadia, San Gabriel, along with the San Gabriel Police Department assisted throughout. At the end of the day, it was boots on the ground, a team effort, solid detective work that brought this case together during a pandemic. This morning, the case was filed against John David Corey Jr., age 57, with the DOB of July 13th, 1963. As of this morning, he will be arraigned in the Los Angeles Criminal Court on Tuesday, May 18th, with the following charges: 2 felony counts of Penal Code 451 Bravo, arson of an inhabited structure; 1 felony count of PC 454A Alpha, 2, which is arson during a state of emergency; 1 felony count of PC 453A Alpha, possession of a flammable liquid; 1 felony count of PC 459, first-degree residential burglary. If convicted, these charges, Mr. Corey will face up to approximately 14 years in state prison. Mr. Corey is currently serving a 3-year prison sentence for a separate, unrelated arson that took place in San Gabriel just a few days after the Mission fire. It was during the course of the investigation of that arson that Mr. Corey became a person of interest in the Mission fire. The exhaustive investigative work that was done over the next several months led to the charges I just detailed. I want to thank all of these agencies and individuals who participated in the process. I also want to thank the Mission staff and the Archdiocese for being patient and allowing us to conduct a thorough investigation. Finally, I want to extend my sympathies to all those who experienced their own feelings of loss due to this fire. I'm encouraged to see the rebuilding of the Mission is well underway, and I'm hopeful it'll be as beautiful as it once was. To protect the integrity of the prosecution in this case, I'll refer you to the Media Relations Unit to the District Attorney's Office with any questions you may have about the investigation or next steps in the prosecution of Mr. Corey. I will now turn it back to Captain Negrete. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Sutliff. I would just like to echo the statement that Captain Sutliff just made, that any additional questions regarding John David Corey be referred to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office through their Media Relations Department. Before I bring up our next speaker, I'd like to note that two members of the LA Archdiocese are with us here today. I'd like to welcome the Regional Bishop David O'Connell, Auxiliary Bishop for the San Gabriel region of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. And I'd also like to welcome Father Brian Nunez, Vicar General of Archdiocese of Los Angeles. Now I'd like to introduce the pastor for Mission San Gabriel, Father John Molyneux, with his sentiments.
My name is Father John Molyneux. I'm the pastor of Mission San Gabriel. And on behalf of the entire Mission San Gabriel community and the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, I want to first express my gratitude to all the first responders and agencies who worked to respond to and to investigate the devastating fire here at the Mission. I want to personally thank Division Chief Chris Ekman of the San Gabriel Fire Department, who has walked with us from the early morning on the day of the fire until now, and whose clear thinking saved some invaluable artwork and artifacts from smoke damage. I'd also like to thank Detective Wallace of the San Gabriel Police Department, who has kept us apprised every step of the way as the ongoing investigation has unfolded. We pledge our continued cooperation with the District Attorney's Office as we seek justice tempered with mercy. Our community of faith at the Mission is a close-knit and has actually been rocked by this incident. For many lifelong parishioners, the fire has been a little death. But we are resurrection people, and we look ahead to the future with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. Behind me, you see signs of the transformation. The timeline of the restoration is still unfolding, but it is our hope that the newly designed roof will be finished by the end of August as we prepare to celebrate the Mission's 250th anniversary on September 11th. And finally, we ask for the grace to put into practice that difficult teaching, instruction of Jesus in Matthew chapter 5 that reminds us to pray for those who persecute you. Thank you very much.
All right, at this time, I can open it up for a few questions from the members of the media present. And please keep in mind that due to the sensitivity of the case, we cannot answer any questions directly relating to the investigation of the fire or the arrest made by the San Gabriel Police Department of the suspect.